Hi, Mom.
Hi, Scott.
How are you?
I am fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. So
Good.
I decided yesterday that, well, we have been talking about doing this for a while, actually, because I, I think it's kind of nice to have you on recording because you're not always going to be here with me. And I think it would be kind of nice to have this to keep. Um, And I think it's a great thing to talk about because we have someone historic in our family. Yesterday, and I didn't share this video with you, I put up Granddaddy's picture, said that this is your father, and he is the older brother of Mary Winston Jackson, who
hmm
is who worked for NASA. She's a mathematician. In fact, the federal NASA building was recently named Mary Winston Jackson, the Mary Winston Jackson building. And her story is told in the movie of Hidden Figures, where she is portrayed by Janelle Monáe. Um,
Correct.
so I thought it would be fun to have a conversation with you about what life was like with Aunt Mary, because I knew who Aunt Mary was. I knew Aunt Mary and I knew Uncle Levi and I knew Wanda. But I don't have like a vivid memory of Aunt Mary. I
Okay.
remember going to Tab and driving by NASA, and we would talk about Aunt Mary working there, but that's really about, and I remember going to Aunt Mary's house, obviously, but I don't know, I never knew any of this. So I thought it would be nice to talk to you about Aunt Mary, and because you wanted to be a mathematician and you wanted to work for NASA, and you used to go down to the wind tunnel when she worked at NASA. So I wanted to talk about that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start at the beginning and talk about my father and my
Okay.
mother. My father was one of, well, he had five brothers and five sisters. And Aunt Mary was the youngest of all. um, my father was a carpenter and he did not get to complete high school. He only went to the eighth grade. And so for him, Aunt Mary, excuse me, Aunt Mary was kind of a star in their family. I think my father always wanted to go to high school, college, but he never did that. He was very smart, however. So in that family, there were a lot of women who went to school and none of the boys went to school. Um, my father spent time as a carpenter and he worked on his house and he worked on other people's houses as well.
And church.
Um, and churches, yes. Hold on. Wow. Anyway, I remember that we spent time at my Aunt Mary's house and my Uncle Jack, you called him Uncle Levi, but his name was Levi Jackson, but we called him Uncle Jack because he had a son, Levi, who was 15 days older than I. And they had a daughter as well who came along a lot later. We used to go by Aunt Mary's house. She was very talented. She sewed collars back then. Everybody wore little white collars on sweaters, and she made those collars for us, her nieces, as well as for other people. She could play the piano. She played very well, and she was a Girl Scout leader. So she was very talented.
Were you in the Girl Scouts?
What?
Were you in the Girl Scouts? I don't ever
No,
remember. Oh, okay.
no, no. I was not in the Girl Scouts, nor was my sister Frankie, nor was my sister Ann that I recall, nor Joan, nor Jane, as a matter of fact. There were five girls in my family. But Aunt Mary was very active in her troop, and she was active with other aspects of the community. I I remember very vividly that my aunt worked at NASA. And on one occasion, I recall, maybe more than one, but I only recall one time that she went to the wind tunnel and she took me. And you recall in the movie Hidden Figures that Janelle Monáe there was a shot of her going in the wind tunnel. Um, from that day forward, I thought that I would be a mathematician like my aunt. I really wanted to do that. And in high school, I achieved very well. But when I went to college, I went to Ohio University, and there were 4 of us that were going to go to OU. Because we had a couple of people that were at OU come and speak to us at college day. And I thought if I could go to Ohio University and major in math, maybe I could follow in my Aunt Mary's footsteps.
Why didn't you want to go to Hampton, where Aunt Mary went?
Well, because my sister Ann and my sister Frankie had gone to Hampton. My sister Joan and my sister Jane had gone to Virginia State. So I wanted to try something different. I started off wanting to go to NYU.
Oh,
but my mother.
I knew you got
sorry?
a scholarship. I never knew that. You never told me. I knew you had a scholarship to Fisk, but you didn't go. But you never mentioned going to NYU.
Well, because when I said I wanted to go to NYU, my mother said, no. Just flat out, no, you're a country girl. You never have spent a night by yourself, and you're not going to go to NYU. So that was out. And
kind of like with Daddy, with me wanting to go to Howard. No.
Exactly. And so I was thinking, okay. And a bunch of us got together after they had college day where people come from various colleges and speak to the class. And during that time, we had 2 people, Willie Wilson and Marvin Patterson, who were actually attending Ohio U, come and speak to us. And we all were dumbfounded and kind of flabbergasted and very excited that we could go to OU. So there were 4 of us that were going to go to OU from Phoenix in my class. And
Phoenix High School, which was a segregated school, which is
yes.
Also where Aunt Mary went to high school.
Yes. And so we started off going there. And when time came to go, everybody had dropped out except me. And my father, who didn't have a lot of money, obviously, had paid for my tuition. Well, the beginnings of my tuition. And when I went to him and said, I don't want to go, I want to take my scholarship at Hampton or Virginia State and go somewhere closer, he said, no. It's your first lesson in life. When you decide something and you commit to something, you have to stay committed. So I boarded the Greyhound bus to Ohio, thinking I was going to be a mathematician. When I got there, I had a series of events that happened to me that were not very nice. I mean, my luggage got lost and this and that. But in any event, I enrolled in my math class, which was 5 hours of advanced math, because in high school, after talking to Aunt Mary, I had taken all the high school math I could take. And I went there starting in math, and I was failing. I was getting 5 hours of F, which for me was extremely depressing. I just was having a difficult time adjusting because I had never had any white professors, and I had never experienced the entire college life. So
this is fascinating to me because I don't know if you remember when I was in high school failing math, and you had to go and speak to my teacher because I apparently, so I was struggling. I still struggle. You know that I struggle with math. Like
you struggle with 2 plus 2. I struggle with 2x minus x equal whatever.
Okay, it's a different level, but
yes, it is definitely.
Like I'm remedial, you're advanced. So
Yes, I used to be advanced when I was younger, but in any event,
wait,
I
I have a question. Like, so why, when you were, so you, Phoenix, the high school was on Hampton's campus. It still is. The building is now the education building. Yes? No?
well, well, the first year I went to Phoenix, it was on Hampton's campus, and Hampton was leasing the school to Black people for, I think it was like $1 a year or something like that. Then they built a school for us, which was on LaSalle Avenue.
Oh, okay.
So that building that's in Hampton now, I don't know what it is, but
It's the
that's,
education building. Like, well, when I went to Hampton, it was the education building. So the School of Education. Um, and they and
no,
hmm?
I don't think that's what the building on Pembroke Avenue is now. But anyway, what were you going to say?
I was gonna ask, like, well, did you ever just why weren't you able to, because remember when I was in high school, I was able to take college classes and get college credit. Why was that not a possibility back? Because you said you had exhausted all of your high school math credits. So why couldn't you have taken math at Hampton?
Well, I exhausted whatever I could take from Hampton also, but when I got to OU, I had to take advanced, it was an advanced math class. It was 5 hours of advanced trigonometry, I think, for some reason that I have to tell you that all of that is like gone from my brain because I don't want to remember bad things and that an experience for me. But in any event, I was getting 5 hours of F. And if you know what that does to your grade point average, it will not bring you up to where you need to be to move on to your second semester of your freshman year.
But you have a scholarship to OU, so nothing was at risk other than granddaddy paying your tuition, yes?
And flunking out of school.
Well, yeah, that's, yeah.
So that was the biggest risk, is that I would flunk out of school. But anyway, long story short, 6 weeks I had an F, 13 weeks, and that was when you got grades back then. And I had not seen any of the campus. I had not gone to the movie. I didn't go to any sports, nothing. I just spent my time studying math. And when I went back after Christmas, after begging my sisters to tell my father that I was flunking out, none of them would comply. I decided that I should see the college. And I went to the movie in the auditorium. I went to Baker Center, and I went to all of these places. And I didn't study at all for my math class because I knew I was going to get an F. And it was very
You never called Aunt Mary
no.
because you were embarrassed?
Yes.
Hmm.
I mean, I left high school. I graduated in the top 10. I was taking all this math stuff. I was going to be a mathematician. I was going to follow in her footsteps. And then I get to OU, and hindsight being what it is, I'm not sure why I picked OU. It wasn't a school that at that time that was known for its math department, but I was following along with, you know, how you get in high school and you follow along with your peers. So anyway, I saw the campus, and I aced the final, got a C out of the class, and I decided I didn't want to be a mathematician anymore. That was the worst probably decision of my life, because I probably would have succeeded in math had I, as a matter of fact, my professor said, now next semester when you take math, I said, no, thank you. Want to do that. And I didn't take any more math, which I think was a bad decision. I probably had adjusted to the campus, the fact that it was predominantly white, the fact that there were very few Black people. There were no math. Well, I don't recall any Black people being majoring that were there that were majoring in math. And so I probably would have been better if I had gone on my second semester, but instead I dropped out. And today, when I was reflecting about Aunt Mary and Hidden Figures and all of that, I was thinking that was something I really miss doing. I did enjoy math. I do enjoy math, you know that. But
Well, why didn't you? So when I was in high school and I was flunking algebra 2, I think. Uh,
and algebra one, I think.
no, I did not flunk algebra.
Just kidding, just kidding.
um, you and Dad made me get a tutor. Why didn't you get a tutor?
I don't know. I guess because we didn't have any money. I mean, when I went to OU, that was a part of the problem. My father had paid, and back then, tuition for out of state students was like $1,500, which is very, minuscule now that you think about out of state tuition. But that was a lot of money for a person who hadn't gone to college, who didn't have a huge career, and for him to pay that money, that was why he made me go, because he wasn't going to get his money back. And he was like, "You're going to stick this out. You're going to learn the first lesson in life." So, I hindsight being 2020, I sort of regret the fact that I did not go on and finish in math, but who knows, maybe I wouldn't have finished. So back to Hidden Figures, Aunt Mary's career was really the career that I had sort of planned out for myself, being a mathematician, working on the space program. And now I'm even fascinated when I see we're getting ready to launch a space shuttle here in Orlando, in Florida. And I'm fascinated with that. But, anyway. So
So you never applied to NASA. So you ended up graduating with a degree in
elementary education.
which you taught.
After I went through the biology, I thought maybe I could major in biology, but then they put a live frog on our desk that was pinned up and we had to dissect it. And I was like, not so much. This is not for me. So I decided I would go on and major in elementary education.
Especially given that you live frogs coming to have been in the house and you were running through the house screaming.
I know. And my sister Ann had majored in biology, and I thought, well, if she could do it, I could do it. I thought that would be a good major for me, but no, it was not at all for me. But I when I think back to all the publicity about Hidden Figures, I think of Aunt Mary and how unassuming she was.
Yeah.
It was very.
Do you think that so my friends and I have talked about this because they asked me, I can't remember the question that they asked me, and my response was that I think that people that are doing historical things aren't aware that they're doing anything historical. They're really just living their life and doing the best that they can at their job, at what they are there to do. And
Yes.
I think that was Aunt Mary. Like they were just surviving and having no clue that what she was doing. All of the women in Hidden Figures were just surviving and living life.
Yeah. I mean, she never really talked a lot about what she was doing. As a matter of fact, I don't recall ever knowing that she was working for the space program. I knew she was a mathematician and I knew she worked at NASA, but I didn't connect that with the fact that she was going to help put the first man in space.
Right.
And she, knowing my father's family, all of my aunts, my aunt Babby, my aunt Ella, my aunt Mary, my aunt Nay, my aunt Hattie, all of them were kind of unassuming. And Aunt Nay and Aunt Hattie taught school in Hampton as well. And they were just going about their business being teachers. And so I didn't really think of Aunt Mary as eventually becoming a celebrity. As a matter of fact, when Hidden Figures came out and I heard about it from either you
No,
or
you told me
Earl.
about it.
I'm sorry.
You told me about it.
Okay, well, then I heard about it from Earl, who lived across the street from me in Hampton. And I then decided that if they were doing this movie, that they should have family members of Aunt Mary in the movie, and that I should
You?
be, yeah, yeah. I
This is
called to
interesting
see,
because you are camera shy. You don't
yeah,
like picture
yeah.
taken.
I don't. But I figured if I could be a walk-on and just be in the background of the many, many people that were in the movie, then that would be something great. And so I did look it up online, and I found out that they had finished taping. Um, and so that wasn't a possibility. But um, it's interesting how we found out about Hidden Figures. And then Anne and Frankie and I went to Hampton when Margaret Shetterly had the book signing and the
Yeah,
the initial presentation of the book.
yeah. And you've done other things as well. Like you've gone,
I have spoken to a middle school full of students. That was a challenge about Hidden Figures and Aunt Mary. And I've gone, I went to Washington, D.C. when they unveiled the Hidden Figures.
statue.
Mhm. And I think they are dedicating a building in Hampton uh, in September to Aunt Mary, and I'm thinking I might go to that. Um, they have renamed a school,
Hmm.
Mary Jackson Elementary School. Um, she would, I think in thinking about this, how humble she would be
Hmm.
to all of this that's going on in her honor. Um, and coming from such humble beginnings, with not having your brothers go to school and the girls getting an opportunity to go on to college, I think that this would just be amazing to her that it's gotten that much recognition. So
Was that an intentional decision by granddaddy's parents? Like they decided to educate the girls and not the boys?
I think that was a decision that a lot of people made back then, in terms of women and men, and women being dependent on men and being self-sufficient, and men being able to find a job, because they had more jobs for men than they did women back then. I mean, I think. And so I don't know that it was a conversation that my grandparents had or any kind of plan that they had, but you know, certainly in the Winston family, that was the way it was.
Well, do you think granddaddy and grandmommy would have done that with Frank Jr. had he lived?
I don't know. No, probably not. They probably would have encouraged him to go to college, because all of us went to college. My sister Jane didn't finish until a little later in life, but she ended up finishing. And I think that people of that generation encouraged all of their children to go to college. I mean, if you think about it, Aunt Mary's two children, Levi Jr., Levi, really, we called him, and Carolyn, um, neither of them went to college. But I think it was a function of how well your children had done in high school and what you saw as their potential.
Oh, okay. Well, I think this was a great conversation. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I just want people to know that when they read the book or see the movie, that that really is a picture of how Aunt Mary was.
Mhm.
Um, she was very interested in young adults and trying to make sure that girls made their way um, in the world. by helping them learn to sew, by being a Girl Scout leader, by helping them with music, whatever their passion was. I think she knew that everybody wasn't going to be a mathematician, but there was the potential for girls to be um, great in life, doing whatever they wanted to do. Um, she she was very um, I don't know the word I want to use, but she was very dedicated to whatever she did. I mean, if she was sewing collars, that was the highlight of the day. If she was playing the piano, that was the highlight of the day. So I don't think she necessarily um, put her brain or academic background on the line and wanted people to know her as an academician or
Yeah,
as a brainiac, but just to know her as a person because she
a
was very
well-rounded person.
a well-rounded person. And I think that's what we can learn from when we think about it today. You don't necessarily have to help put a man on the moon or help put a man in space to make an impact on your community. I think that you can just be the best person you can be. So
So I want to ask one more question, and it's a personal question, but well, not a personal question, but a question about. So Aunt Mary was a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha, but you pledged Delta, and so it's interesting that she was kind of you aspired to have the same to follow in her footsteps, but you pledged Delta. Why was that?
to be honest with you, I didn't even know she was an AKA.
Oh, really?
Until I read the book. That sounds really weird. And to be honest with you, no one else in my family, aside from my sister Joan, who pledged late in life, belonged to a sorority. I think people pledge a sorority and pledge different sororities for different reasons. Um, I did not know she was an AKA until my AKA friends started to tease me about her being an AKA. And I think you pledge for various reasons. I certainly pledged Delta for probably a different reason than why she pledged AKA. So,
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I will talk to you later today, and I appreciate this conversation. And I hope you have a good day. Tell Dad I said hello.
and get to work.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.